Singstar. If you don't know, Singstar is a karaoke classic for the PlayStation 2. I'm sure a lot of you have memories of Singstar as a kid, or even as an adult. You sing the song and it roughly scores you as best it can with some cheap microphones. Every game is essentially the same with a new set of songs. Singstar was really popular with tons of releases and region exclusives, unless you're in the US, where weirdly it didn't seem to be as popular. But hey, at least you guys got Singstar Country. All we got here was Singstar Wiggles. Here's my collection of Singstar games, and yeah, I got quite a few. There's a ton of classic songs spanning them all, but I always wondered something since I was a kid. What if I could turn any song into a Singstar karaoke song? The first step in this project was figuring out if it was even possible in the first place. I have little to no coding experience, so if I had to rewrite a PS2 game, then this project would probably have gone from taking months to taking years. Fortunately for me, someone else has done this before. I could only find one video of this on YouTube, but that was all it took to send me down the rabbit hole of this project being possible. To summarize my findings, there's one German developer who made a program that can convert Ultrastar songs into a Singstar ROM which can be read by a PS2. But what's Ultrastar? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Ultrastar is a program independent from Singstar, created as a spiritual successor for PC and Mac, allowing you to play Singstar on a computer in a much more clean and convenient way. I'm not going to go super in depth here, all you really need to know is that some legend made a program that can turn these computer songs into ones that will work on the PS2. This is great for two reasons. For one, I don't have to do any coding, which is a huge relief, and two, as a bonus side effect, I'll also have songs that work on the computer. Converting songs to work with Ultrastar is a little tricky. You have to split the lyrics into syllables, work out the spacing, the length, and also assign their pitch. Quite a lengthy and time-consuming project. There's been a lot of Ultrastar song editors created over the years to help with the process of translating the songs. I actually experimented with and used a few different ones, but if you'd like a recommendation, I would say UltraTools Editor was the most intuitive for me. With a promising beginning, the next step was to choose what kind of songs I wanted to use. When it came to picking songs, the first thing that came to mind was Magdalena Bay. I absolutely adore their songs and music videos and knew they were a perfect fit for this project. While I could have made my game have a diverse selection of music from various artists, there were just so many Magdalena Bay songs I wanted to convert that I decided to just make the project about them. I was set on Singstar Magdalena Bay. While I would have loved to make my custom Singstar project have 30 songs like most other Singstar games, creating Ultrastar versions of songs takes a lot of time and effort, so instead I settled on 13 songs that I loved and felt really encapsulated the band. Big thanks to my friend Toby who helped me with the majority of the song translating.
Are you winning?
I think we're gonna win off this if we can kill Volley. Oh, never mind, I'll see.
I mostly just chose songs based on how iconic and singable I felt they were, but unfortunately I couldn't just pick any song I wanted. Here's some of the reasons why some songs just wouldn't have worked as well as others. While it sounds a little silly at first, if a song doesn't have enough words, it'll obviously fall a little flat as a karaoke song. For example, I absolutely love Halfway, but as the name suggests, about halfway through the song, the lyrics end. Great for listening, not so great for singing. Okay, so what do I mean by overlap? Well, I'm referring to when a song has two lyrical tracks on top of each other. For example, here's some overlap in All You Do. Again, I absolutely love this effect in listening, but it can make singing along a little confusing. You're forced to pick just one of the lyrical tracks, which sucks because it won't award points to someone who sings the other lyrics. In the end, there were some songs I included which did have some overlap, albeit usually in very small sections. But my solution to this was just to label these lines as freestyle, which basically just means the words will still show up, they just aren't worth any points. Not the cleanest solution, but the best option for this case in my opinion. Okay, sorry, that explanation might have gotten a little out of hand. The last criteria a song had to meet was... I mean, I could still use a song without a music video. I just have to resort to visualizers or images of cover art on screen as a substitute. While this is still functionally identical, in my opinion the lack of a music video with a song really takes away from the Singstar experience. So if a song didn't have a music video, then it was out of the question for me. Well, except for one. There was one song I desperately wanted to include despite the fact Magdalena Bay never made a music video for it. At least, not one that I'm aware of. That song is Set Me Off. It's one of my favorites, and it's just so catchy that I felt like I had to include it. So because this project wasn't hard and time consuming enough already, I decided to make my very own music video for the song. I won't go into a ton of detail about the creation of the video, but I had a lot of fun making it, and if you want to check it out, the link's in the description. You should finish the rest of this video first though. Oh, and Magdalena Bay, if you end up watching my video for some reason, then as far as I'm concerned, you own the full rights to my music video. Feel free to do whatever you want with it. Anyway, here's the 13 songs I chose in the end. I feel good about the final list. It's got a lot of diversity, and songs from a lot of the different albums. I've also included links to YouTube and Spotify playlists of my list in the description, so feel free to go check those out. I will note that I've actually been working on this project on and off for a very long time, so believe it or not, I printed the case and stickers before Minimix Volume 3 was released, so I just wanted to say, Top Dog definitely would have made the cut if it existed when I started. Oh well, there's always room for Magdalena Bay Volume 2 in the future, I suppose. It goes without saying that I strongly recommend you go check out Magdalena Bay. Their stuff is incredible and you should support them in any way you can. After painstakingly editing the songs to work with Ultrastar, subsequently converting them all into a Singstar ROM and burning it to a disc which can be read by a PS2, there was still a problem. My game was not legitimate and therefore the PS2 couldn't read it. But didn't you just say it could be read by a PS2? You're probably thinking, you silly little naive child. While it's true my ROM can be understood by a PS2, it still won't boot due to the anti-piracy measures of the PS2. To put it simply, the PS2 knows my game was burnt to a disc by me and not made in the factory like the other games, so it won't load. So how do we get around this? Well, there's actually a few methods. One involves modifying the PS2 console itself to remove the check for legitimacy by installing a mod chip. There are many kinds of mod chips, all with various degrees of features, but I wasn't a fan of this approach for multiple reasons. Firstly, applying a mod chip can be a complicated process depending on which model PS2 you have, and in most cases, it's an irreversible modification. The other more important reason for me was that I wanted this to function as close to a normal game as possible. I just want to put the disc in and have it load up, no modifications necessary, and luckily for me, there's one other option, which lets me do just that. Allow me to quickly explain so you don't get bored and click off the video what Free DVD Boot is. Free DVD Boot is a patch you can apply to a ROM before you burn it to a disc that does some funky things. My understanding is that it takes advantage of the fact that PS2 can play DVD movies, and puts a bit of data at the front of the disc pretending to be one. Once the PS2 switches into its DVD mode, the data intentionally crashes the PS2. The PS2 then quickly recovers, but it's too late, we've snuck through. The piracy check isn't operational, we've skipped it. And so, the PS2 boots the disc. I'm sure my explanation is not at all accurate, it's probably much more technical than that, but that's close enough. Anyway, the downside is that this exploit will only work on slim model PS2s. Sorry chonky PS2s, maybe one day we can all be equally exploited. After some final touches, the designing of a cool case, and a sticker to put on the disc, it was finished. Singstar, Magdalena Bay. I am so happy with the outcome of this project. It looks and plays identically to any other official Singstar game, and it's awesome to have a modern PS2 game on my shelf. I made a few extra copies to give away to some friends, and I would be super down to give a copy to Magdalena Bay themselves at some point. While I'd love to leave a link to a download to the Singstar Magdalena Bay ROM for you to install and get running on your PS2s, I can't for multiple reasons. Firstly, I don't have any permission from Magdalena Bay, so I have no right to release a downloadable file that contains their music and videos for free. And even if I did, I don't think Sony would be too keen to have a free modified version of their game floating around on the internet. The alternative would be a guide to make your own ROM from scratch, but that's even more difficult as the program I use to make the ROM is very old and hard to find, and I can't release it because it's not my program to distribute. I hope someday someone makes a new version of this program, and if that ever happens, I'll put that link in the description. So while I unfortunately can't make the PS2 version publicly available, I can release the song translations so you can play them on your computer with Ultrastar. All you need to do is put the MP3s and videos for the songs in the corresponding folder, make sure these video and MP3 fields line up with the files, and you're good to go. All of this plus some other bits and pieces are available through my website link, also in the description. Hope you enjoyed, but I didn't ask to be alive.